Good evening. I call this May 26, 2026 meeting of the Morrisville Town Council to order. We ask those in attendance tonight to please silence your cell phones. Thank you to those here in person with us tonight, those watching via live stream, and those who are watching the recording of this meeting. Our town mission statement, which helps guide our decisions tonight and into the future, is connecting our diverse community to an enhanced quality of life through innovative programs and services. Detective Lee is our Sergeant at Arms for this evening's meeting. We thank you for your attendance. This evening, I will be leading our invocation. As we gather this evening, the day after Memorial Day, we pause with gratitude for the men and women who gave their lives in service to our nation. Their sacrifice reminds us of the responsibility we carry as leaders to honor their legacy by working each day to strengthen our community and safeguard the freedoms they defended. May we approach tonight's work with humility, clarity, and purpose. Let us listen well, act thoughtfully, and remain committed to the long-term good of Morrisville and all who call it home. May our decisions reflect gratitude for the past, stewardship for the present, and hope for the future. All those who are able, please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we adopt tonight's agenda, Town Council policy is to review and ensure there are no conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with any items on the agenda. If you noticed anything on the agenda that would be a conflict or look like one, please share that now. Okay, seeing none, is there a motion and second to adopt this evening's regular agenda?
I'll make that motion. Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Johnson, a second from Mayor Pro Tem Rabati. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. There are 3 items on this evening's consent agenda. Approval of the April Town Council meeting minutes, Memorandum of Understanding for Federal Transit Administration Raleigh Urbanized Area Funding Allocations, and resolution on second financing of Public Works Facility in 260 Town Hall Drive. Would any member of council wish to pull any of those items for discussion? Or is there a motion and a second to adopt tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion from Mayor Pro Tem Rabati, and the second was from, is that Councilmember Kesslin? Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that also carries unanimously. We have one proclamation listed on our agenda for reference, and that will be for Pride Month, and that'll be read later at a public event. Next on the agenda is Morrisville Speaks, which is our public comment section. For those who have signed up to speak, please approach the microphone and begin by stating your name and residential address and direct your comments to the council. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to ensure everyone has a fair opportunity to share their thoughts. A timer will start after you state your name and address, and a buzzer will sound when your time is up. We appreciate your cooperation in helping us manage time fairly for all participants. Town Clerk, is there anyone signed up for public address this evening?
There is no one signed up to speak, and there were no online submissions.
Okay. Is there anyone here in the room who would like to speak to this body for up to 3 minutes on any subject of your choosing, other than the public hearing that we're having after? Okay. Seeing none. As a reminder, we encourage the submission of written comments as they offer a valuable way for community members to share their feedback. To submit written comments, please email publicinput@morrisvillenc.gov. We are now at admin reports. Admin reports are for information only unless a council member has specific questions. Are there any questions on these 2 reports? I'd like to recognize Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
I actually have a question for each of the topics, the public art update and the Triangle Bikeway progress.
If we could have Brittany Johnson, our planning manager, come to the podium, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Alex, any questions that you may have?
Good evening, Brittany. Thank you so much for your initiative and continued support of the public art for the town of Morrisville. This topic is specifically related to our ICON program, which is funded by a grant, as I understand it, and we have a timeline associated with it such that I was wondering if we could share the timeline for the public. There is a slide in the presentation, and I do have one question after that.
Yes. We are partially funded by a grant from the United Arts Council. The grant, we did receive an extension for that because we have some delays with fabrication. So we do have an extension through August into September. So that is a little bit on the grant extension there. Now that will fund the money that we paid to the artists as their artist award. And then last year's budget year did have funds devoted to public art as well.
Great. And my question is related to the, once we have the icons fabricated, they are in a plain state, and we have intention to have them decorated by local artists. And is there information that we can provide to allow the public to understand maybe how they could apply or how that process works?
Yes, there will be an application that will be released late next month. We will be working with communications on the review of that and getting that out to the public. That process, again, will be informed by having to make sure we have the icon fully approved to kind of set that timeline. So yes, it will be placed on our website and all that information.
And just to let everybody know, the icon that we selected is a butterfly
Yes.
because it has multiple meanings for both cultural as well as the constantly the metamorphosis Morrisville has experienced in its, over time. So that's very cool. Thank you very much. Any other questions?
I don't believe anyone else has
Okay.
questions for you, Ms. Johnson. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd now ask Brett Martin, our Transportation Project Manager, to come to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Brett Martin here, Transportation Project Manager with the town.
Thank you so much for the administrative report on the Triangle Bikeway progress. For the public's understanding, there is some identified paths for this bikeway within the town limits, but a lot of them are not necessarily through the center of town. They're mostly on the perimeter. Could you kind of share that rationale and how that could benefit the public?
Absolutely. So the Triangle, as you mentioned, the Triangle Bikeway does not come into Morrisville that much. It kind of just scrapes the edge of Morrisville. It follows the I-40 right-of-way on the south end of it until it gets to Airport Boulevard, and then at Airport Boulevard it crosses where at factory shops right there, and then it meets back up with the I-40 right-of-way until it exits the town toward the Lake Crabtree area. So it's just that little stretch. There is a pretty significant stretch where it first comes into the northwestern part of town in the I-40 right-of-way, where there's some connection opportunities between Slater Road and the bikeway. One of the things that I mentioned in the report was we don't really have a lot of local side path greenway connectivity to the future alignment of the Triangle Bikeway. So it's one of the things we have to really think about in the comprehensive transportation plan update that we're doing right now, which will come back to you with quite a bit more information in June on what we need to do. And we kind of already did that with the universe of projects for the bicycle and pedestrian mode, our modes. So, the idea is, if we're going to have this regionally serving project, shared use facility that is really meant to be kind of a direct connection among a lot of municipalities and areas ultimately between Chapel Hill and Raleigh, West Raleigh, we need to, for us to really take advantage of it, we need to provide better connections to it for the residents of Morrisville to see the benefit.
Precisely. That is the point that I was trying to elicit, is that it is kind of like a bike freeway, a bikeway. And as we enjoy the freeways for expediting travel, we exit a freeway and have local streets, and then we can enjoy accessing local attractions. So we have to think more about the network. One of the concerns I have related to a bikeway is the electric bikes. We do have electric bikes that do run in our current greenway system, which cause some disruption at times in that there is no defined signaling to the pedestrians. You know, what is a safe way to alert them, or a consistent way to alert them, or what is the protocol? Do they always go on the right side, or are they passing the, just basic things because of the speed of the bikeway? I would think that it's going to be a lot of electric bikes there versus your standard pedal bikes. And that's one of the issues that we need to consider as we look at integrating or accessing the bikeway, is once those bikes come onto our greenways or other roadway systems, how are we anticipating what is a safe way to have both multimodal kind of movement there? Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Martin, our transportation planner? Councilmember Kesslin, please.
Thank you, Brett, for preparing this administrative report. I noticed in there that the cost of this is still up in the air, and where exactly the funding would be coming from. If the town is putting up some portion of this, do we have an estimate about how much that would cost the town?
That's a great question. That's a question that town staff is also asking currently. The total project cost is anywhere from, in projected $20-30, which still might be a little racy for implementation in terms of time frame, but 98 million to a little over 120 million. As the project moves through, it's the idea with what just happened. Yes.
And that's the funding for the total project, not
Total
Morrisville's.
project, yeah,
not
total
Morrisville
project.
portion.
The whole thing from Chapel Hill to Western Raleigh. What Campo and the partners just finished up doing was some targeted areas, refining the alignments in those targeted areas, which will give them better information on cost estimation. And that was done so that the whole alignment could get to 30% design, where you get a pretty good cost estimation at that level of design. So that refinement of cost for the preferred alignment is not ready yet. I haven't seen it, but I imagine it will generally fall in that range that I just mentioned. We have not talked about the partners have not really talked that much about what cost sharing would look like. But the town of Morrisville staff has been pressing for that, because what we're concerned about is last minute requests for funding to submit some type of grant application that we have not done the appropriate advanced planning for, financial planning and otherwise. And then also, we're concerned that there's some of these alignment decisions that are being made in these targeted areas. They have cost implications, right? Some of the alignments are less costly than others. And we don't want, for what Raleigh, the city of Raleigh might prefer, to impact, what we might have to pay for a cost share situation. Because it doesn't necessarily, whatever their preference is for this alignment versus this other one, we don't really have much to say about that, but we don't want to be on the hook if there's some type of proration for total miles, population, or otherwise, something like that, some type of proration that puts us on the hook to pay more money than we otherwise would if we went with a less costly alternative, right? So we've been pressing on that. It's something that we've been saying we need to address sooner rather than later, but I don't have much information to give on that because those conversations have not transpired.
Gotcha. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Councilmember Johnson, please.
So I didn't have a question until a few minutes ago, but right, you said something, I want to make sure that I heard it right, that this is an aggressive timeline when you talk about 2030.
Yeah, I think so. Is it doable? Sure, if there's a windfall of grant money that becomes available. But even if you're going to apply for that grant, it still has to go it still has to get to 30% design this year. It still has to go from 30% design to 100% design with construction bid documents. It still has to be packaged in a way where it will get bids. It's kind of a complex, interesting project. I don't know how contractors would respond to it because it's very long and it's mostly in DOT right of way and yeah, I don't know. So then you have that step and then there's the actual construction and then there's all this stuff that has to be figured out with cost share, governance of construction, who's actually doing it. It really doesn't even have a project sponsor yet, right, for construction. We haven't talked about cost share. We're working on maintenance. Interestingly, we have heard DOT is somewhat interested or somewhat willing, they've provided some indication that they might be interested in delivering the project, which would be great. I mean, it's in their right of way. But they want us to figure out maintenance first. You know, we don't want to build this and then we don't have that figured out. So it might seem backwards, but we're talking more about maintenance responsibility and how that's going to be governed and funded right now before we're talking about actual construction and cost sharing for delivery of the actual project. So I just think 2030 is probably a bit optimistic.
After everything you just said, I would agree with you for sure,
All
yeah.
right.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, don't see any others at this time. Thank you for bringing that forward. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
At this time, we now invite Justin Rosser, our Chief of Police, to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I know y'all have a full schedule tonight, but I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce one of the newest members of our department. So we have Linus, along with the handler, Derek Smith, who y'all probably well know is our evidence custodian. But Linus is new to the department. And we want to take this opportunity to not only introduce him to council, but also to the community because we hope to grow this program. So I think a lot of you have heard me talk in the past about the things that we necessarily did not get right in law enforcement or we could improve on. And one of those is ensuring that we're taking care of officer wellness. And part of that is their mental health. And Linus here is a therapy dog. That's a program that has been implemented across the country in several agencies. Matter of fact, IACP, which is one of the leading, organizations that we look for guidance, actually implemented their own therapy dog recently as well. So it's a program that's growing and we're finding a lot of benefit in it. So we added Linus to the team. We were very fortunate. So this was a vision from Lieutenant Rosenkrantz and our wellness committee that we've established to look at the wellness for the department. Her and that team saw a need for it. They were able to obtain Linus through a donation. And then we also had the training donated to us to provide him with his initial training. Now, in moving forward with this training, we've also found several agencies here in the community that already have this program in place. Wake County Sheriff's Office and a few others, and they've agreed to partner with us as well to help Linus get experience, to help Derek get experience as the new handler, in being able to contribute to our department as far as the therapy dog goes. We hope to see this program grow. Right now it's starting in the police department. As you can tell, Linus is still very young, and we need to get him used to everything and get him through his training and being able to partner with the other agencies. But we hope to grow that into not only helping us partnering with our folks over at the fire department, other town departments, and then eventually hoping to see this grow into a community asset as well, to where Linus can be beneficial to the folks here in this community by providing them with, therapy and just, a way to make them feel better. I know I sit in my office a lot of times and he comes in and sits down by my desk and I get to pet him, and I feel better when I get to do that for sure. So I just want to take this opportunity to introduce Linus to you, and to thank Derek and also the Wellness Committee for their vision to implement this program. They really took it upon themselves, and, and also to our town management for their support in letting me implement this program in the police department. I think it's going to be a huge success for us, not only as a department, but as a town and as a community. So at this time, I'll be glad to open up for any questions that you may have for me.
That is wonderful. I think we all think it's very cute. And thank you very much for making this happen. I'd like to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Rabadi, followed by Councilmember Johnson, please. Scroggins Johnson, please.
I completely lost focus when he put his paws up on Derek's tummy. Is this a program that we could augment with rescue dogs, or is there some requirement that, they have to be a purebred, or they have to, I would love it if we could bring some rescue dogs in.
Yeah, so there's no requirement that they have to be purebred. I think certain breeds work better. So it's just like any other police canine or any other canine that you see that's trained. They just have to have the temperament for it. So it's definitely a program we can see growing in the future. But with it being so new right now, we're going to get Linus up and running. But we will definitely love to see the program grow in the future.
I would definitely love that also. What a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, please.
Well, I love the idea. I think that before this item closes, you need to come up for a picture.
Okay.
So just
We can
saying.
definitely do that.
Yes, absolutely. But I see opportunities not just with classroom programs and community outreach, but I mean, even the senior center probably has some programming where we could use a little TLC, a little therapy kind of things. But I think this is a really innovative way of connecting. And thank you so much for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I don't see any other questions, so you want to organize us for a photo?
I think so.
Okay, let's do
Sounds
it.
good. Thank you.
Since Linus is a little bit short, you all may have to
Like
scooch
or
in.
something.
Oh, I thought you wanted us to kneel down because he's short.
Yeah, but you may need to get sort of on one side of the table so that I can get everybody in the picture. Okay. That's actually
Everybody is
really
bending
good.
down. Does that mean we all have to bend down?
Okay. Are you gonna look this way? That's perfect. Thank you.
I'm sorry about that. Appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Where does he live?
With Derek.
So he lives with you? Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Oh my God, Sam's great at that. Practically is a therapy dog. It's unfortunate, my dog's the same. I'm totally where you live.
Okay, now that we're all calm and smiley, we're going to move on to our public hearings. We have one public hearing tonight. We will now hear from Brandon Zudemar, our town manager.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thank you for a little bit of time tonight regarding the recommended FY 2027 budget. In advance of the public hearing tonight, I just want to share a few comments and thoughts with you. As you're aware, and for the public, we presented the recommended budget back on May 12th. That followed a series of work sessions that actually began at the council retreat and came all the way up into April. And then following the presentation of the recommended budget on the 12th, we had a work session on May 14th and discussed some different options. And I thought we had a good conversation about where the recommended budget could land given our sort of unique circumstances this year as we face some challenges with revenues and some new expenses. The only changes that have been made to the recommended budget since it was presented on May 12th, first is that at your request, we added approximately $20,000 from the fund balance to address the MAFC repairs that you asked us to do. And then secondly, again, based on your request, we made some adjustments to police false alarm costs and made some increases there, particularly for the latter portion of those alarms. Other than that, no changes to the recommended budget. So we sit with a recommended budget of approximately $60.4 million for FY 2027, which is actually a 3.6% decrease from this year's budget. Just a few notes on the recommended budget and the process. Again, this budget really is intended to address the town's 7 strategic plan goals. It also addresses the 8 priorities that you developed with the help of Jeannie and Byron through the SOAR exercise at the retreat. And then it also, of course, includes consideration of community priorities that we've identified through a variety of feedback opportunities this spring. Again, there is no proposed tax increase in this budget. That rate stays at 35 cents per $100 evaluation. And it's again, we typically budget conservatively. I would say this is conservative plus to an extent because of some of the unknowns, a little bit in FY 27 and then certainly going into FY 28. And we've had a fair amount of conversation about those. Including the fact that we are intentionally holding on to $500,000 that could come in as revenue, but it's all subject to commercial reevaluation appeals going back to FY 2025. So from a conservative standpoint, we elected to hold that investment to make sure we weren't spending money that we wouldn't receive. And then also, again, this budget really makes investments in some key service areas, development services, public safety, and proud to say we're investing in the town center, which is scheduled to open summer of 2027. With that, if there's no questions, now I'd ask that you open the public hearing.
Looks like Councilmember Garmello wants to ask a question before we open the public hearing.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. What is in regards to the nonprofit that we talked about for rental?
Thank you for that reminder. I missed that on my notes. We're working on that currently, doing some research on what that looks like. We want to make sure we bring you fully informed information about who uses those facilities, what percentage is nonprofits. So we'll bring that back to you after the budget is adopted, but we can make a very easy amendment to the user fees if you should direct that at the time you get the information.
So it will not go as part of the budget, you're saying?
I don't anticipate that we'll have that ready at this point, but we can have it ready for you shortly thereafter.
Approximately what? How much?
I would think that maybe the June 23rd meeting potentially, but if not, certainly that July meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I would declare the public hearing open at this time, and I'll recognize the town clerk to call people up. You'll have 3 minutes to speak on this subject. Please address your comments to the council. Start off with your name and your residential address, please.
First is Suresh Narayan.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Suresh Narayan. I reside in 803 Billingham Road, Morrisville. Been a long-time resident. Some of the things that I wanted to comment was it was really nice that the surveys were done and we got a lot of feedback. We got an opportunity to talk. And also we heard Mr. Brandon presenting the budget report. And it gave a sense of satisfaction to a lot of residents that there are elected members who are listening to the public. However, what concerns me is that since Mr. Brandon has presented and the staff has worked on the budget and there's clearly stated that all the obligations and everything taken into account, there's no need for a budget increase. So my question comes in is that we continue to keep talking on budget. So my concern and the public concern is that will we actually see a concern or an increase if the budget is increased? So we just want to make sure that we are listening to the public. Let's not make this into a habit of taking a survey, getting all this thing done, and yet at the end of the session we see that, oh, we don't care, we're going to increase the budget. So we just want to make sure that we stick to it, and we also follow what we are telling the public, because they're reading it. If on page 6 of the budget report, it clearly says, and also Mr. Brandon, the town manager, basically spelled it out too, there's no need for an increase. That's all I want to say, is that be consistent and help us out in these hard times. Thank you.
Next is Bob Butler.
Good evening, Town Council and staff. By the way, I think my wife wants me to have a therapy dog too. I don't know why. Maybe she just said therapy. I didn't know. Anyway. Can't hear me? I'm going to paraphrase Mark Anthony tonight. Not the singer, the Roman guy. I did not come here tonight to bury the town council or the staff, but to praise them. Because it seems like through all the angst that the town staff went through and the town council went through, you came up with a budget, a proposed budget, obviously, that does not call for the raising of taxes. And I want to thank you for that, not just for myself, but everybody I've talked to. I've never talked to anybody in town that wanted a raise in taxes. Not a single person, whether they're young, they're seniors, or in between. And I know there's some people, some town council member that have never met a tax that they didn't like. And I know that sometimes other members get pressured to look for a tax increase, to see if we can do a tax increase. But I'd like to paraphrase Nancy Reagan to those people and tell them to just say no. We have to be, as a town conglomerate, we have to live within the means that we have. We can't keep going up in taxes. So I'd like to thank you once again for the proposed budget that is on the table, and I hope you vote for it. Thank you.
And sir, your residential address, please.
One other thing. I challenge you to find a 3-minute comment anywhere in the history of Morrisville that mentions Mark Anthony and Nancy Reagan. 112 Leecroft Way is where I live.
Thank you.
Next is Lauren Butler.
Hi, Lauren Butler, 112 Leecroft Way, Morrisville, North Carolina. To continue the praise, again, thank you for not proposing a raise in property taxes for this next budget review and your work session. On behalf of many, many senior citizens in the town of Morrisville, we appreciate you and all your considerations. And to John and Brandon and Celeste, we really, truly do appreciate you and all your considerations. And so I got a little time left. I just thought I'd mention who is or what is a senior citizen. A senior citizen who has paid taxes for 50 years plus. Some of you are not quite 50 years old yet. We paid taxes on property for 50 years. Our parents paid property taxes. We were sons and daughters. Many of us are moms and dads. A lot of us are grandmas and grandpas. We have seen a lot in our lifetime. We've experienced a lot in our lifetime. I was a little kid when the Ed Sullivan Show on a black and white TV came on and the Beatles came to America. I know some of you won't remember that or maybe even have an appreciation for that. We were at Woodstock. We have been building a legacy behind us and in front of us for us to go through. And I will tell you, as a senior citizen, you know, as a parent and a grandparent, you try to put money away in a savings account, and somehow it just kept disappearing, right? So you had to make some good financial decisions, and or you had to do without a lot of your life. You had to focus on needs versus wants. So any little bit of help we can make for senior citizens is sincerely appreciated. Social Security has not kept up with the difference in the economy for us, as you all know that. You feel it too. So again, I want to say thank you, and thank you, and thank you, and thank you, and thank you, thank you, and thank you, and thank you, sincerely.
That is the end of our signed up speakers, and we have no online comments.
Is there anyone here in the room who would like to make a comment? Even if you didn't sign up, you'd be welcome. Sir, your name and your residential address, please. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Michael Anderson. I live at 1117 Foxglove Drive. Thank you for your time in front of this council. I understand that sometimes the incoming cash and outgoing cash, they need to balance. I understand that sometimes taxes need to go up, sometimes taxes need to go down. More often it's the former than the latter. But the taxes, there's two ways you can balance the budget in the town. You can either increase the taxes, or you can increase the revenue base. And I understand that taxes have to go up in the immediate term, otherwise we're going to be cutting services. But I really want to encourage the town to focus on building the revenue base of the town itself. So even with the same tax rate, if you have I don't think the clock's moving. There we go. So even with the same tax rate, $50,000 or well, that's going back too far. A $300,000 house is going to raise less in taxable revenue than a $500,000 house, which is going to produce less in turn than a $2 million apartment building, or like the mixed use that's going to be happening over in downtown Morrisville. So, Town Council, what I want to ask you to do is look at any projects that are coming down the line. Say, yes, how can we help you build? How can we help this community get more neighbors and become stronger, so we can keep the cost of living low, while still keeping enough revenue to keep the services that we rely on. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anyone else who wanted to address this body for up to 3 minutes on this subject? Okay. Seeing none, we have more discussion to come, or we can close the public hearing at this time. We're kind of in flux about when we're going to be adopting, so I'm open to discussion now. Councilmember Johnson.
So I would say let's have discussion, and then at the end of discussion, we can choose to close the public hearing.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments? I see Councilmember Garamella's thing is up. Comments or discussion? I have a comment. Not surprising. So, over the past several weeks, I've listened closely to our residents, to my colleagues, and our staff. I am fully aware of the economic challenges facing families in Morrisville. The squeeze is real. Groceries, insurance, utilities, tuition, and property values have all risen faster than incomes. 2 years ago, our residents told us clearly that they preferred small, incremental adjustments rather than large shocks. because that approach protects their long-term stability. And I've never forgotten that. I do not want to raise the tax rate. I understand the pressure families are under, but I also know that underfunding this year sets us up for declining services next year, and that decline will fall hardest on the very families we are trying to protect. We have worked for more than a decade to build the services, programs, and quality of life that make Morrisville an all-America city. I cannot support a path that quietly erodes those gains. We are all focused on reducing recurring expenses, and I respect that. I want to work with all of us next year on a full, responsible review of our recurring costs. And I hope that that will include the use of AI and automation to help our staff do more without adding positions, although that is an investment in and of itself to acquire that technology. That work is essential, and I am committed to it, but it cannot be done responsibly in the final days of a budget cycle. Brandon has been clear that that reducing 1% of COLA is a necessary step in order to balance this budget. And other steps have already been taken to control any kind of salary creep that might happen over time. But those are 10 positions that I think if we don't fund them now, we might not have the capacity to fund them later. So I fully support those 10 positions. If we truly want to make a difference this year, the most impactful steps are the following that will need to be done and will only cost more later. I think it's important to fully fund our fleet maintenance and replacement. That would be an additional $320,000. Otherwise, it's $820,000 next year. It'd be great to restore the pavement supplement that was removed already. We've done really well about making sure that our roads are free of potholes. And I'm afraid that if we delay that by a year or two, even though we're going to be doing some paving, we will not be doing enough to keep us on the track that we've achieved right now. And I think it's important to restore the median maintenance and litter cleanup that have been removed from this recommended budget. These are low-cost, high-visibility services that protect property values and our community pride. So these are not luxuries, these are the basics that keep Morrisville clean, safe, and respected. Our roads are in good shape now, but they will not stay that way if we underfund them. Our medians and corridors reflect who we are as a community. A small investment prevents a visible decline that costs far more to reverse. If we wish to keep Morrisville the all-America city that we all love, the hometown that we chose, then now is the time to invest in that future. Invest in our staff and invest in ourselves, not extravagantly, not recklessly, but responsibly, pragmatically, and with the long-term well-being of our residents at the center of every decision, including those who spoke tonight. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Scroggs Johnson at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to commend our town manager and the team for all the time that they've invested so far in developing the proposed budget. It's really appreciated. It's clear that you have been listening to council in our discussions. As far as I can see, there are 7 people up here on the dais, and we probably have 7 different versions of a priority list, including myself. I have some items on the proposed budget that were not prioritized and therefore not funded. But knowing that we discussed this in length and we came upon a balance of where, as a council, we prioritized things, I felt it was the best list that we could come up with, keeping the tax rate at the same level while also moving some projects ahead and activating some key projects as well. We don't have enough money to do everything that we want. I don't think there is a scenario where even if we raise taxes, we would still have a big bucket of things that we didn't get done. So we listened to the public and they asked us to keep the rate the same, and we were still able to advance. So I'm very comfortable with the proposal. Of course, if you ask me a specific item or two, it is being delayed, but that is something that I feel is okay. And then maybe next year we can prioritize it again. This is a compromise. This isn't I get everything because I think it's all important kind of thing. It is a compromise in the budget. Um, it's just that it's something at a point in time, knowing what we know, these are the best options going forward. And a phased approach in some of those was agreeable. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did anyone else like to make any comments at this time? I don't see it. Okay. Councilmember Patel, please.
So first of all, thank you, manager and entire staff. You guys did tremendous job coming up with something based on what some of us asked you to do. We're not raising taxes, which is good, but I cannot really celebrate a budget that simply defers a hard conversation by 1 year. And that's essentially what we are doing today. If somebody can point out where we're going to come up with the recurring cost we are adding and the uh, the expenditures that we are deferring, then I'll be happy. But the way I'm seeing it right now, unless we do something drastically different, we'll be back again next year and probably in a deeper hole. For me, to support this budget, I would really have liked to see serious reconsideration of the recurring cost that we are adding. Unfortunately, I'm being told that it's too late in the game, and I understand. But that's where I am right now. Thank you.
Mayor Potem Rabadi, please.
Councilmember Patel makes a really good point about recurring revenue, adding recurring revenue at this point. I think that we have committed as a council to looking at recurring revenue, taking a deep dive this year, which we had not done since I've been on the council. I hope that through that process, I hope that will allay some of your concerns, that we'll be able to get rid of some recurring revenue. You know, there are things that I want in the budget that are not there. There are things that I really want that are not there. And I think that it's a tough year. Mr. Butler said that taxes can't go up or taxes don't have to go up. Sorry, I'm paraphrasing you like you paraphrased Mark Anthony. But the fact is, at some point, taxes will go up. I think we would be remiss if we left the public with the impression that we can pull off this miracle 2 years in a row. But I have friends right here in Morrisville that were impacted in Cisco's latest layoff. I have friends that are seniors that are on fixed budgets, and I have talked to people. I also have not spoken to anyone that told me that as long as we can provide more services, they would be okay with a tax increase. I'm sure that those people are out there. I have not been able to find them. So yeah, I think that every budget is a compromise. As Councilmember Scroggins Johnson said, there are 7 of us, and nobody gets everything they want. I do appreciate your concerns, and I appreciate the lens through which you're looking at the budget, because I don't think that it's a lens, quite honestly, that it's not a viewpoint that we've necessarily had on the council before. And I think that it's very valuable. So I just wanted to say that I'm committed to the deep dive recurring revenue process. I think that we all are. And, I hope that I hope that we will be able, I hope that you will come to feel that you made the right decision when you voted for the budget. Thank you.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add at this time? I recognize Councilmember Johnson.
So I'm probably going to repeat myself to what I said back in our May work session, the May 14th work session, but it's probably important that it's said, so it's in the minutes for this meeting as well. But I realize how some budgets are easy budget years and some are difficult budget years, and this is certainly a difficult budget year. And I appreciate that the staff has listened very carefully to the seven of us, has listened very carefully to the public who have reached out through our meetings, for our survey, through our public events, where we had, even this evening, but prior to this meeting, we had a budget open house where there were some residents who gave feedback. So I appreciate all that feedback from the public, and I appreciate staff's work. I think it's important that that we show the public that we are listening, that we are going to do our best this year and next year and the year after, for that matter, to try to offer the best service we can to the community at the best tax rate we can to the community. And I am committed to doing that. And I am committed this year to make sure that the public is aware that I am going to stay within our means, that I am going to do my best to make sure that we provide all that we can without giving them a tax increase this year. We did, and it was a unanimous vote, 2 years ago, gave a very substantial tax increase above revenue neutral. It was 5 cents above revenue neutral. And at that time, there were comments from the public where they said they would have preferred us to phase in that 5 cents over a couple of years and not do it at one time. And we did not do that. If we had phased in that 5 cents, we probably would not be where we are today, and we would not be, hopefully none of us would be talking about a tax increase, because that 5 cents should last us a couple of years. And so that is important to me, that what I said 2 years ago to the public, that we were going to build capacity and do our best with that 5 cents, that lasted beyond 2 years. And so I am pleased that we're at a point where there's a proposed budget with no tax increase. I don't know what next year is going to bring. I think Mayor Pro Tem Rabati's right. I think Councilmember Patel is right. We don't know what's going to happen next year. But for this year, I think we show constraint. And I would agree, this is a compromise budget. I think I've said this probably every year I've been here. This budget, or the budget of that year that we vote on, never includes everything I want. It has a little bit of what I want, it has a little bit of what all seven of us want, and it has a lot that the public has asked for as well. So I appreciate that. And I also, just to talk again about this deep dive, because I talked about this the last time too, and I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem bringing this up. We probably do need to have a deep dive so that we can all really delve into the budget and what levers are there for us in the future to pull or not, so that we are doing the best that we can for this community. and again, offering the best service at the best tax rate that we can. So I guess that's all I really have at this time, so thank you.
Okay, I don't see anyone else who, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Kessler.
Thank you, Brandon, for putting together a budget that does fund a lot of crucial things, as well as not raising the tax rate. And I want to thank the residents who have engaged with us throughout the process. I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second here. If we're going to talk about affordability, we have to be honest about why our residents are being squeezed so hard. How can one of the fastest growing and economically successful regions in the South struggle simultaneously with affordability, infrastructure pressure, and public investment needs? And I think it's broader than municipal spending. What looks like local government strain is increasingly shaped by a structural shift in our economy, a shift directed by policy at the state level that consistently places the burden of funding our society onto working residents and suburban homeowners while protecting the largest corporate entities. First, we have an affordability crisis because wage for working families are structurally suppressed. While our regional economy is booming, household salaries for many working families have struggled to keep pace with inflation, like Councilmember Patel has shown us. These outcomes are strongly shaped by policy choices. North Carolina, I've mentioned before, is frequently ranked the #1 state for business, yet we consistently rank as the worst state for workers. And instead of addressing the skyrocketing costs of insurance, healthcare, and utilities, the General Assembly is currently advancing Senate Bill 1082 to enshrine anti-union laws in our state constitution. And labor advocates warn that these measures depress wages and lower benefits. And it's working families who will pay the price for that. Second, we're witnessing a massive transfer of tax burden away from wealthy entities and directly onto our local homeowners. Large corporations have aggressively utilized the appeals process to drastically lower their commercial property valuations. And there's still more appeals that are waiting to be settled. There's a lot more that I could talk about here. There's the constitutional amendments about capping state income tax and capping the property tax, all of which will create a revenue crisis that puts pressure on us to cut or privatize our public goods. But shrinking municipal services does not lower housing prices. Cutting staff does not reduce insurance premiums. Reducing recurring expenditures during a cost of living crisis only weakens the very public capacity that our working and middle class residents rely on the most. Strong infrastructure, reliable public services, parks, transportation systems, and safe neighborhoods are essential for broadly shared prosperity. And even if we decide to adjust the tax rate out of necessity in the coming years, I implore residents to recognize the larger structural pressures forcing working families to subsidize corporate growth and continue asking the question why. Why is one of the fastest growing and economically successful regions in the South struggling simultaneously with affordability, infrastructure pressure, and public investment? And if we're going to build a Morrisville where the people who live here and that help build this town can actually afford to stay here, we must be honest about where these pressures are coming from and collectively fight for an economy that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else at this time. So I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Does anyone have any questions for staff at all? We didn't really ask that. This was a good discussion. Everyone shared a little bit. Do we want to leave it open indefinitely? We have a work session scheduled for Thursday. I'm not seeing that we have any direction to change anything at this time though, so.
I think the first question is, do we want to have that work session on Thursday? If we do, we should leave the public hearing open. If we do not, then we could probably close the public hearing tonight and cancel the meeting on Thursday. I think that really is the,
That sounds logical.
the approach we should take. Does that make
Would
sense?
anyone like to share their thoughts on the Thursday meeting, whether or not we want to conduct that?
So, based on what I've heard tonight from council and from the public, I'm okay with canceling Thursday and closing the public hearing, but I want to hear from the other council members.
Happy to recognize anyone who puts up their blue thing. Councilmember Johnson, followed by Councilmember Garamella.
So I would agree with Councilmember Scroggins Johnson. I'm not hearing anybody wanting to make any changes to the budget. So I, I don't see a reason why we need to have a work session on Thursday then. And therefore, I would say cancel that and then close the public hearing tonight.
Councilmember Garamella, followed by Mayor Potem Rafati.
For me, I think if there's nothing that I'm hearing, there's no point of having one more meeting, especially give those precious hours back to the staff so that they can spend with their families.
Mayor Potem Rafati.
I would also support that.
Councilmember Kesslin.
I'm good with that as well.
Okay. So we have consensus to go ahead and cancel the meeting. I'd entertain a motion to, and we'll do that officially after we close the public hearing. I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion from Mayor Potem Rafati, a second from Councilmember Scroggins Johnson to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. That carries unanimously 7-0. I'd like to make sure we do this right. I'd like to recognize the town attorney to tell us what we need to say and do in order to cancel the publicly noticed work session scheduled for Thursday. And it's right there. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was looking around, not looking where I needed to look. I
I would like to
recognize
make-
Mayor Potem Rafati.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the town council meeting schedule by canceling the May 28th town council work session meeting.
Second.
Motion from Mayor Potem Rafati, second from Councilmember Scroggins Johnson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0 as well. Anything that you need, sir, from us?
No, I think we have what we need from you. We'll be ready to have this on the agenda June 9th for adoption.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, could I ask a brief question?
Yep, Councilmember, Mayor Potem Rafati.
I have a question for the town attorney. Is there any wording that I need to, I will not be at the June 9th meeting. Brandon has offered me the opportunity to provide remarks about the budget. Is there anything specific that I need to put in those remarks or anything?
You mean tonight?
No, I'll be submitting comments on the budget for the June 9th meeting.
Oh, I see. I mean, there's nothing particular other than whatever priorities you want to emphasize you support and your reasons for
Okay.
supporting the budget.
I can do that, thank you.
But to be clear, she will not have an official vote because she won't be present. Okay. Councilmember Garamella, did you have anything else? Okay. We are about 40 minutes ahead of the red line, or we could take a break now. Does anyone have any preference? We have an action item right next. Okay, everyone good to just keep going for a little bit longer? Okay. So we have one action item this evening. We now invite Michelle Stiegel, Planning Director, to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This item, is the microphone working? There we go. That's much better. This item is in relation to the amendment of a number of agreements entered into back in 2022 to facilitate construction of a new high school and ultimately also a new middle school in Morrisville. Just briefly, in regard to some of the history, back in 2022, the town approved a variety of agreements and took a number of other actions to facilitate the construction of a new public high school in Morrisville. Among those agreements was an interlocal agreement between the town of Morrisville, the Wake County Public School System, and Wake Technical Community College that established the framework for the overall partnership. And that included the purchase of land by the Wake County School System from Wake Tech for the high school, a fire station land swap whereby Wake County Public Schools purchased land from the town of Morrisville in exchange for a long-term lease of property elsewhere. And that land was set aside to build a future fire station on. The conveyance or a long-term lease of about 18 acres of parkland to the town from Wake Tech, and the joint use of athletic space at Cedar Fork Elementary School. Another one of those agreements was an amendment to the Cedar Fork Joint Use Agreement. As part of the high school project, if you will, additional athletic space needed to be located off-site, and Cedar Fork Elementary School was chosen for that purpose. The original plan proposed for 6 tennis courts, a softball field, restaurant and storage building, parking lot, and stormwater facility to be constructed on the Cedar Fork Elementary School property to facilitate and support the high school. The joint use agreement required the school system to be responsible for construction of the improvements, and in exchange for being able to use the improvements when the school system was not, the town was responsible for maintenance of the improvements. As part of the agreement, the Wake County Public School System was also required to incorporate additional requested amenities that the town asked for, and there was discussion at that time about installing lights, a storage building, and some other amenities. So that's the history of the project. Since 2022, a few things have transpired. Mainly the high school and the middle school sites were swapped. So the high school is now going to be located in RTP, and the middle school site will be going on the Paramount Parkway property. Also, softball at Cedar Fork Elementary was converted to a multi-use field, and an existing second multi-purpose field on the Cedar Fork Elementary School property is proposed to be upgraded and also utilized by the school system. As a result, the previously approved interlocal agreement needs amended. A second amendment to the joint use agreement for Cedar Fork Elementary School is required. And as we are getting close to construction at Cedar Fork, at this time, a new ILA, which I'll refer to as a funding agreement for the additional town requested improvements, needs acted on. So those are the 3 agreements on your agenda for consideration this evening. In regard to the interlocal agreement, the proposed modifications include changing prior references to the high school to simply public school. Reference is also being eliminated to a shared drive on Paramount Parkway that was to provide access to a potential trailhead. It's important to note that the trailhead and shared drive are not required under the current agreement, but they were referenced as a goal to work towards. But however, they were found to be infeasible due to topographical challenges between the site. Wake County Public School System staff and town staff are still investigating the trailhead, but the cross connection between the properties is what's not feasible. In regard to the second amendment to the joint use agreement at Cedar Fork that is proposed, amendments to that agreement are proposed to reflect the change in fields and to provide additional clarification regarding schedule and maintenance. With the revised plan that you can see on the overhead, 6 tennis courts continue to be proposed. 3 of those would also be striped for pickleball. There are 2 multi-purpose fields, a restroom storage building, parking, and stormwater. This is a copy of the schedule that was reviewed by Town Council at your April 30th work session. The schedule for use of the athletic amenities at Cedar Fork between the school system and the town is being refined with this agreement to better define use schedules. In general, during the school day weekdays, the tennis courts and multipurpose fields will be available for the town starting at 6, and the second multipurpose field will be available starting at 5. Weekends, tennis and multipurpose field 1 will be available for the town after 10 o'clock. Multipurpose field number 2 available after 8 a.m. Town would have full use of the fields during the summer up until August, when practices for high school athletics will begin. And at that time, after 10 a.m. for tennis and multipurpose field 1, and all day on multipurpose field 2. Again, this is the anticipated schedule, but anytime the fields would not be in use by the school system, the town would have the ability to program the fields and the courts for use, and we would be meeting with them regularly. Your Parks and Recreation Department staff and school system staff to discuss and coordinate schedules. At your April 30th meeting, there were some questions and discussion related to access to the property. What you see on the screen is a copy of the site plan that is currently under review by staff. That plan is on track for approval to begin construction in July. But you can see that 2 access points are shown off of Town Hall. The existing access drive to the existing parking lot and that loop, and a new second access drive is proposed off of Town Hall Drive that would lead to the new parking lot being constructed. There were also questions from council about how students will be transferred to the site for practices. The school system has confirmed that students would be bused from the high school site to Cedar Fork Elementary School for practice. The size of the bus would depend on the team and size of the team. Most buses would park in the new parking lot, but full-size buses would enter in through the existing drive. And as high schools open with 9th and 10th grade, and then we move into and add 11th and 12th grade over time, transportation patterns might evolve once upperclassmen are on campus. So subject to change by the school system as 11th and 12th grade begin at the property. The last agreement that is proposed for your consideration is a new agreement. It's a new ILA between the town and Wake County Public Schools. Again, I'll just refer to it as the funding agreement. But this is the agreement for the town's contribution of the additional amenities that have been requested. That agreement includes a do not exceed of $1,064,804.75 for the additional town requested improvements. Again, the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department is applying for a $45,000 grant to help with some of the costs of the tennis court lighting, and they also continue to explore other potential grant opportunities. The town's CIP includes $1.5 million to support construction, therefore we are under budget. In relation to the do not exceed figure that is in the agreement, those were based off of cost estimates prepared by the Wake County Public School System, who is leading the project, and include a 15% contingency. So on the screen, you'll see the additional amenities requested by the town and the cost estimates for each. A large majority of the cost, as you could see, is for lights on the tennis courts, and then again, both multi-purpose fields. Other requests include pickleball striping of 3 courts, a tennis backnet wall, the town's portion of the storage building, conduit to support future IT equipment, and magnetic locks for the bathroom and multi-purpose field number 1. So again, that total comes to $916,265. with the 15% contingency and the design costs that we're responsible for, you end up at the $1,064,000 that is in the agreement. And again, that is a do not exceed. The project is currently being bid. I don't want to say it's going to come in under, but if it were to happen to come in under, obviously we'd only pay the actual cost. If it comes in over, the amenities would still be constructed, but at that not to exceed figure. And just as a reminder, in regards to the benefits of the agreements, they help support and facilitate the larger effort to bring a high school to Morrisville. Provides additional recreational amenities to the town at a lower cost than separately purchasing and developing property. And there's an overall benefit to the taxpayers through partnership between the school and the town for the joint use of facilities. And so there are three agreements, two agreements amendments, and a new agreement on your agenda for action this evening, resolutions 2026-188, A, B, and C. And with that, I'll take any questions that council may have.
First question goes to Mayor Protem Rabadi.
Thank you, Michelle. Could you go back to slide 10, please?
Sure.
I just wanted to get some clarification. I know we've gone over this, but the town would have use means that these facilities would be open for the town to program these fields and amenities? Or is there any portion of the week or the year where they would be available for public use?
So I'm looking at our Parks and Recreation Director who's in the back of the room, and I'll invite her to come up and add anything she wants to. But yes, they'd be available for town use. We do expect programming and renting out the fields and the courts at different times. And then particularly with tennis, there would also be opportunity for some open play.
Yes, that's correct. We plan on programming and it will be open to the public. We're trying to balance both sides out with the courts and with the field. Okay. And what was the reason that, I know that you told me before, but what was the reason that on the weekends that there's differences in when the multipurpose field 2 and the tennis courts in multipurpose field 1, why are there differences in the times when those are available? On the weekends? Well, I mean, I think there's a discrepancy, like for example, school year weekdays, the tennis courts in multipurpose field 1 are available at 6, field 2 is available at 5. On the weekends, the first 2 are available after 10, the third is available after 8. That was a conversation that we had with Wake County, and it had to do with their athletic teams being able to utilize that space during specific times. It's pretty standard across the board with Wake County that they get them during those times. Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
And that was Cindy King, our Parks and Rec Director, just for the record. Any other questions? Okay, if we could bring the words back up, and this should be 3 separate resolutions and votes. Town Attorney, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Kessling, if that's okay, at least for the first one.
If we could go back to slide 8.
Oh, sorry. He has more questions. This wasn't the resolution yet.
So I think I understand what's going on here. The graphic is a little bit hard to read, but shared drive, that would be between the school and a future park that we would have.
Yes, more or less. So this area here, and I do apologize, I tried to get something in the slideshow that wasn't quite so fuzzy, and I just wasn't able to do it with the images that we were working with. But it's this area here. There was kind of an aspirational goal early on to do a trailhead that would provide access to the town park, maybe some parking, and a cross connection to the school. That was always discussed in the agreement as something that was aspirational and that we would look at and investigate further. Whether or not there'll be a trailhead and parking, I think that will be determined with the planning that you're doing right now for Wake Tech Park. So that's still something that we're discussing, but it's just this connection between the school and that area, that there's a really steep grade. And you're gonna end up with a retaining wall along a large portion of the property line between the school and park site. And so just with that grade difference, a cross connection wasn't feasible. There would still be a sidewalk along the right of way, and we're looking at other options in other areas to provide some connection.
Yeah, I'm looking at a map now and I see that we have a greenway on the north side of Paramount Parkway, with this future greenway that we have, shown here, and I get that this is very conceptual. Are we looking at this, future greenway that will be going through this site, connecting that up to the greenway that's already there on the north side of Paramount Parkway?
Yeah, I don't have a definite answer for you. There are discussions ongoing with the school system about the middle school plans and the location of that greenway right now. The greenway was originally contemplated to run along the north side of the school's property, but again, some challenges there. So we're currently looking at options that run it more along the south side of the property, kind of between what would be the future parkland and the school. But those discussions are still ongoing.
Yeah, and we heard about the Triangle Bikeway, earlier. I think if we can think about how we're moving cyclists, pedestrians, I guess this is kind of diagonally, northeast. We already have an existing greenway that's kind of connecting some areas in here. Certainly, if we can connect our TOD up to the Triangle Bikeway, eventually. And I know that this will be a critical project, to, plan for that. I definitely would like to see, I get that we're not having the trailhead in here, but I definitely would like to see some more information on how we're actually making that connection through these properties.
Sure.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions before we entertain motions? Okay, I'll recognize Mayor Potem Rabadi. We'll go through these one at a time. If we could bring that on the screen, thank you.
I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-188-0A, approving the First Amendment to the interlocal agreement for programming and planning school and town facilities in Morrisville, North Carolina.
A second.
I have a motion from Mayor Potem Rabadi, a second from Councilmember Johnson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. Mayor Potem?
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2026-188-0B, approving the Second Amendment to the Level 4 Joint Use Agreement for Cedar Fork Elementary School.
Motion from Mayor Potem Rabadi, a second from Councilmember Garamella. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. Mayor Potem Rabadi?
And I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2026-188-0C, approving an interlocal agreement for infrastructure provision to support public school facilities in Morrisville, North Carolina.
A motion from Mayor Potem Rabadi, a second from Councilmember Garamella. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that also carries unanimously. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Planning Director Stiegel, and thank you for all the work. This has been many years in the making, 2 town managers and more, and lots of Wake County Public Schools and Wake Tech. Lots of great work moving forward. Thank you very much. At this time, we can cruise through a few more things before we take our break. Right now, we're at future meetings, events, and resident involvement opportunities. For a full listing of our events, please visit the town calendar at www.morrisvillenc.gov. We're going to move on to council comments at this time. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson will share first, and will be followed by Councilmember Garamella.
I recognize that we have a lot of graduations coming up across our school systems, and I wish everyone a smooth transition to the next chapter. I I probably will not be able to make it, but I know many of you are already registered and signed up for that, so I hope that, that is, a wonderful event, or series of events, because there's several high schools in there. Thank you.
Councilmember Garamella, followed by Councilmember Johnson.
Now, I echo with a lot of graduations. I myself am going to San Jose this Thursday for my nephew's graduation, and very few people in our family go into Stanford, so I think it's worth going there and celebrating with him.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson, followed by Councilmember Patel.
So I can't remember the last time we got to council comments before 7:30, so I am not going to have any comments, so we can move on with the meeting.
Councilmember Patel, followed by Councilmember Kessler.
So, no comments really, just looking forward to graduation ceremonies. The first time will be exciting.
Councilmember Kessler, followed by myself.
No comments.
Okay. I'm going to say congratulations to the upcoming graduates. It was really nice to go to the WESIB graduation, Wake Early College of Information and Biotechnologies. This was the first class where all 4 years they spent at the school, because last year was just 10th grade on. So that was very exciting. I'd like to also recognize and thank you to our fallen heroes and their families, and those who work hard for us and protect us every day here in Morrisville, our staff. And happy birthday to my daughter Shannon, one day early. Love you, sweetie. And now to Mayor Protem Rabadi.
I also traveled for a graduation. I traveled all the way to Raleigh for the graduation of baby Grace Rabadi from NC State last weekend, which was wonderful. And after that, I have no comments.
Okay. Town Manager Zudema, do you have any comments, sir?
I do not.
Okay. So we should go into closed session and then take a break, right? That's the better order? Okay. So we have one closed session this evening to discuss a confidential matter. Thank you to everyone for watching this evening. As this is the end of our public business, I would ask for a motion to enter a closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A4 to discuss an economic development matter. I'd love to recognize somebody. Councilmember Scarlett Johnson, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion to go into closed session from Councilmember Scarlett Johnson, a second from Mayor Protem Rabadi. All those in favor of entering closed session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously. 7-0, it is 7:29. We are now in closed session. Thank you very much to the audience, and we look forward to seeing you soon.